TGI Friday, am I right? I love the phrase TGI Friday because I actually met my wife at TGI Fridays on Long Island. Hi guys, it is Friday and I've seen some really great content from the Bond community about making cocktails. And I actually love cocktails because potentially I'm a borderline alcoholic, but actually I've been into cocktails my entire life. When I was a teenager, I got all these books about making cocktails, and I remember my sister held a party once in London where I basically produced a cocktail list. I made cocktails all night long for all of her friends, and that was the party in which she met her husband, so clearly those cocktails worked. And later on, my cocktail expertise would serve me well because I became bar manager of the Island Hotel on Tresco in the Isles of Scilly, and I had to produce a cocktail list. They were all 1920s style cocktails that were inspired by the Prohibition era, which I was super into. Later, when I worked in Paris, one of the first venues that I went to was the infamous Harry's Bar on Saint-Cloud-de-New, which was, of course, where James Bond went when he was in Paris and lost his virginity. I used to go there all the time. It's so cool. It's like this beautiful old wood-panelled cocktail bar on the top, and then underneath they've got this little piano bar. And I was there so often that I knew everybody. They even let me serve behind the bar once, and my cocktail there was a White Lady with Angostura bitters, which is known as a fine and dandy, which is apparently the drink of choice of Al Capone. And if you know anything about history, if you look into the history of cocktails and Prohibition era and how they came together, it's so cool. And cocktails were basically invented to like hide the poor quality of the alcohol that was smuggling to America. So the way all of the different components and stuff make such a big impact to the flavour is incredible. And I watched this great video by the Bond Experience with Dressing Like Bond, where Dressing Like Bond, who's been studying cocktails from the master mixologist at Duke's in London, and he produced this gin and tonic that was just like, it looked like a work of art. I love gin and tonics, it's my go-to, but what he did was just majesty. And then later on I was watching Instagram and I saw Hans Gruber post pictures of his peach margarita that he made, and I always love the Instagram videos by The Culture of Bond. Awesome Mike, who's a friend of mine, and he always produces these like beautiful cocktails that have as much of a story behind them as they do like a nice exotic taste. So cocktails are just great. I love cocktails to bits, and I thought today I would present to you one particular cocktail of my own which I invented. I invented this, when was it? It was early 2020, and I invented it when I was writing this book, High Point. This is the men's version of it. So High Point started off as a romance novel, and it's actually published with a different cover as a romance novel, and then it had such a positive reception that it was what launched me into producing books under my own name and with covers targeted towards a more male audience. Now the High Point is one of the characters in this story, except it's a boat. So the PCH-1 High Point is a real life ship. At one time in 1962 it was created by Boeing as the Navy's first hydrofoil, first active service hydrofoil, and it was an incredible piece of technology. It never really went far beyond the testing stages, and eventually the US Navy got rid of it and it was put up for sale, and it like floated around in Astoria Harbour for years and years and years until I found out about it. I knew I wanted to write a sea adventure book, and I was googling what sort of boats were for sale because I'd written one previous sea adventure book when I found this incredible Italian patrol boat that became like the Tempest, which was the vessel in this story. So I was looking for a boat specifically to include in my story, and then I saw the real life High Point for sale for $40,000. No, it's $45,000, but it's like less than the price of an SUV, and I was like, oh my god, I want that boat. And that was what made this entire book click together, was having a boat, and then it brought all these characters into this high stakes adventure story in the Gulf Coast. And our hero in that story is a guy called Max Sager. He is a former Navy officer who worked for ONI, which is the Office of Naval Intelligence. He went undercover and was a spy, and then he joined a biker gang, of course the eponymous Knuckleheads, to stay out of trouble for 10 years. And the book reaches him on the day of his divorce, when he's living in the Gulf Coast of Florida and he's divorcing this waitress that he married called Tina. And one of the defining characteristics about Max is that he likes a drink. Don't we all? But I had this real, I immediately came up with this idea for this drink when I was there. What is his signature drink going to be? And I was racking my brains because it had to be something simple, and it had to be something that kind of represented the fact that he's like a business-like guy. He came from a middle-class background in Michigan. His mother was an alcoholic, so he has a weird relationship with alcohol. He likes to drink a lot, but he wasn't the kind of guy who was going to have a frisky cocktail with things and that. So I thought, what is he like? Well, rum. Rum's always a good one, and rum is cheap and plentiful. What can you mix with rum? Orange juice is in Florida. So I came up with the idea of him drinking Bacardi and orange juice. And I was like, that's fine, but that's not a cocktail, is it? And then I thought, oh, he's a Navy guy, isn't he? And one of the interesting things about being on a boat is you won't often see glassware on a boat, because obviously it could fall off and crack and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, what if he drinks this Bacardi and orange juice in a tin cup? And that was kind of where the vision of this cocktail came on board. I was like, okay, you're starting to get somewhere now. You know, you have a Moscow Mule served in a copper cup. Why don't we have a tin cup for his drink? And the more I thought about it, the more kind of came into my head about what makes this drink a drink. So it has to be Bacardi white rum, or cheap white rum, and the orange juice. Everyone's always going on with the cocktail. It has to be beautiful, classy, fresh, distinctive ingredients. And I was like, what if he likes Bacardi and orange juice and he just buys a freaking jug, dollar store orange juice? Bacardi, dollar store orange juice in a battered tin cup. I was like, oh, we're getting somewhere now. This is kind of interesting. And then the final, la pièce de résistance, what are you going to stir it with? So one of the most famous simple cocktails in the world is the screwdriver. And the screwdriver was invented in 1946 in Los Angeles, which is the year Smirnoff vodka first became available there. Smirnoff vodka was distinct from other alcohols, including rum, because it didn't have that like very, very alcohol-y smell to it. So construction workers building all the skyscrapers in Los Angeles in the 1940s used to drink vodka on the job, and they would mix it with orange juice and they would stir it with a screwdriver. And that's how the cocktail became known as a screwdriver. Yes, all of the skyscrapers in Los Angeles were built by drunk off their asses guys who were drinking vodka and orange juice and stirring with a screwdriver. So I thought, okay, Max is on this boat, it's falling apart, the high point, wrench. Definitely, gotta have that. I always recommend the 13mm wrench, but if you are a mechanic like me, you know you can never find a 13mm wrench when you want one, so I've got a 14mm here. But here is the high point cocktail. It is Bacardi rum on ice with dollar store orange juice, stirred with a wrench. Now, unfortunately, today I don't have any Bacardi rum. I like Bacardi rum, by the way. So we're gonna make high point cocktail with slightly classier ingredients. In fact, thanks to the culture of Bond, I have a bottle of the Blackwell Special Edition 007 rum, which comes from the GoldenEye estate. Now normally it is in a taller bottle with a yellow label. This is a special one done for No Time to Die. It's fantastic stuff. I don't need to tell you how good it is, because there are tons of content and videos out there by people who've been drinking it. I would check out Quantum History and my man the Bond Armory. They did some streams in which they're drinking it. Anyway, this is the rum we're going to be using. Now, of course, this causes the problem of it's a nice, hefty golden rum as opposed to white Bacardi. But I'm willing to risk these things if you are. Fistful of ice cubes in your tin cup. There we go. You can go big, you can go large. I find with tin cups, you don't want to put too much ice in because it kind of sticks to the sides. Right, then our rum. Lovely, let's pour in a good splash. your dollar store orange juice. I once actually had the same problem with the rum. I ran out of orange juice and I had to use fresh squeezed orange juice. And oh my god, it was amazing. It was so good. So much better than this, but this is what the recipe calls for. Da da da. There we go. And finally, take our 13mm wrench, 14mm, make sure it's the pointy end, stirred. Good stuff. I'd say rum and orange is probably my writing drink. Anyway, that is how you make the High Point cocktail. And if you want to learn more about the guy who drinks it, pick up a copy of High Point by Roland Hume, or if you prefer a slightly steamier cover, Simone Scarlett. And I will catch up with you guys later. Cheerio.